Hello, Dolphin fans. Welcome to Sports Nation. I'm Bobby Finstock. Wanted to jump on here really quick and talk about some news coming out of Miami. The Dolphins continue to clean house in the front office. Earlier today, Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network reported that the Dolphins have fired co-directors of player personnel, Anthony Hunt and Adam Engroff. Now, you're asking possibly why is this happening right now? Is this a big deal? It absolutely is a big deal, and makes a lot of sense why it's happening now. First off, these two guys are two key figures in the scouting and personnel department, obviously co-directors of player personnel. Adam Engroff joined the Dolphins back in 2015 as a college scout, climbed up the ladder, became director of college scouting in 2016, and then co-director of player personnel in 2019. Anthony Hunt, been here for over 30 years, since 94. Started as an intern, became a scout, moved up multiple director roles until becoming a co-director of player personnel with Adam Engroff. This makes a lot of sense considering what we heard after Chris Grier, who was fired back in Halloween, about Stephen Ross's plans to reshape the front office, rebuild it from the ground up. Looks like that's exactly what's happening. Again, you might be wondering why fire them now? Why not wait until there's a new general manager, and let that guy pick them and whatever? Well, some moves are easier to make than others, especially right away, like front office executives and directors. They're now out there scouting games every weekend or grinding film for upcoming draft classes. That's where it comes to actual scouts. Those are the ones traveling to college games, compiling reports. You can't fire those people mid-season. They're knee deep in work for the 2026 draft. But when it comes to these guys in leadership roles, you can clear those ones up now. The people setting the tone and direction of the football team, the team that's 3-7 right now, who were hired directly by Chris Grier, who's worked with Chris. Well, actually, Hunt has been here a little longer, but these guys are guys that work directly with building the foundation of this football team, which is a complete mess, at least the front office portion of it. You go ahead and clear those guys up now. You hire the new general manager or promote if Champ Kelly gets promoted from interim to the permanent general manager, and you allow the new GM to hire those roles post-draft. And then, of course, that's when you could go, when the new general manager probably clean house with the other type of scouts and bring his or her scouts in to set that up and go from there. Where does this leave Champ Kelly? Well, that's what's interesting because, from reports after Chris Grier was let go last week, was that Champ Kelly had no real shot to be the permanent GM. He was just to be the interim GM, just like he did with the Raiders. And then Miami will, scan the landscape and then go start interviews in January and then get their new general manager, whomever that may be. But, again, is this a move Ross made in order to clean house so the new general manager or the guy, once they interview, understand that, hey, I get to pick my own crew? Or was this a show of hands, a show of the hand that Champ Kelly could have the inside track to be the next general manager? Who made this call? Obviously, Champ Kelly is a well-respected personnel guy, but he was brought in by Chris Grier. Credit, that was in March. So he's not really a Chris Grier guy. And an inkling with me, this has not been reported or anything, but at least how I feel. He was brought in March. There was reports before the season that Chris Grier could be stepping down or moving up to another position, an advisor role, and then he may be stepping away from the role of general manager. Was Champ Kelly hired as the heir apparent, and did they just speed up the process after Grier was let go? Maybe. But, again, what was reported prior to the Buffalo game, which shout out to the Miami Dolphins for beating Buffalo. Shout out to Mike McDaniel and the defense and Devon Achane. But prior to that game, post Chris Grier getting let go, the report was that Kelly will be promoted, but he's not expected to hold on to the job. I think that still could be the case. But I would not be surprised if he's made the permanent GM, if Miami continues to win, if McDaniel shows affection towards him, if Ross loves work with him. I mean, one thing that I noticed, and shout out to Finstanza, my co-host on pregame, postgame, host of Overtime, and about everything else on FTSN. He brought up the post-game locker room footage. And so I went back to go check, and then, he wanted me to see how everybody was celebrating. But one thing I had noticed, one thing that stuck out to me was Champ Kelly. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't somewhere else. He wasn't standing by the owner. He was standing by the coach. He wasn't standing innocently by just clapping and whatever. No, he was fist bumping, fist pumping. He was hyped up like the players. He was jumping. I mean, he was really like a part of the group, a part of the guys. And that stood out to me. Once January hits, however the season's going to play out, Miami more than likely will begin formal interviews for the next general manager. And now with Anthony Hunt and Anthony Hunt and Adam Engroff both gone, they more than likely they're going to be able to get their own group of guys. And that's why, again, we don't know who the next head coach is going to be if McDaniel is gone. More than likely, we know he's probably going to be here to the end of the season. And if Miami wins and they continue to play like they did against Buffalo, let's say they go to Washington and they go to Spain and beat Washington and they just go on this streak, more than likely McDaniel could return. It looks like that. And I know a lot of people go, oh, here he goes. He's half-assed in it again, Ross. But this will be the first time it's a general manager who's gone and not the coach. We've always had Chris Greer. At least that's how it's been in a while. So we know we're going to have new scouts. We know we're going to have a new general manager. We know we're going to have new director of player personnel. That's the silver lining in this. So I was pleasantly surprised and very satisfied with the change today of the two key figures in the Dolphins scouting department and front office. These guys, again, had major roles in how this team was constructed with Chris Greer. And now they are both gone. They shouldn't be gone long. It's not like they're going to be jobless. They're going to find roles pretty quick. They've been in this league for a very long time. But, again, they had a big hand in the way this team was built. And there would not be real change unless you clean it out totally. And that is exactly what it looks like Stephen Ross is doing. Chris Greer, gone. My goodness, it took long enough. Now, Adam Engroff, Anthony Hunt, also gone. The Dolphins front office is being completely reshuffled, cleaned out, reimagined right before our eyes. What do you guys think about all this? Is Stephen Ross doing the right thing by cleaning house this early? Or is Miami heading into dangerous territory with all this turnover? P.S. They're not. But you may think so, and that's okay. So do me a favor. Drop in the comments what your thoughts are on these moves. Does this mean that Champ Kelly is the foregone conclusion full-time GM? Or is it just Ross now cleaning house so that way whoever he interviews will know that he has full domain over his staff, which has not been the case in a while. And I will say, something I want to shout out too, we're talking about Champ Kelly. Will Champ Kelly get that full-time gig as GM of the Miami Dolphins? Well, this is something we have not seen. Again, I have never seen Chris Greer fist bump and pump and, like one of the guys, which he doesn't have to. He's a general manager. But again, it's a different vibe. What you saw from Champ Kelly post Dolphins win against Buffalo. It's a different guy, different vibe. And maybe the vibe needed for this type of football team, maybe the vibe needed for this generation of a type of a football team and that type of head coach in Mike McDaniel. Maybe he needs one of those type of guys, a rah-rah, a guy who's going to run into battle with him and talk like him and whatever. Another thing that stood out to me is Champ Kelly's Instagram post, which was shared by Joe Schad. This was what he said, basically talking about this past weekend and being promoted to interim GM, quote unquote. Champ Kelly, to have the opportunity to lead our team is beyond my wildest dreams. But to have my first game as interim GM fall on Military Appreciation and Salute to Service weekend makes it even more special. I am so appreciative of our service members, veterans, and their families, especially my sister and brother-in-law who are currently serving and stationed in Hawaii. I'm truly blessed by all the prayers, calls, and messages I've received over the last few days. I can't thank you enough. We've been here before, and the mission is still the same. Win. Win with the daily devotion to process and the people. Win with the daily devotion to the process and the people. Win by never backing down and never lying down. We fight. I don't know what the future may hold, but I know who holds my future. Love and respect. Hashtag fins up. Hashtag salute to service. Hashtag win in details. We haven't had, that's unquote there, but we haven't had much experience with Champ Kelly as general manager. Just started. He's the interim GM. Not a lot of power. But from a very, very short, tiny scribble of a notepad resume in front of us here with what he's doing with the Dolphins. Not talking about the trade deadline, which looked like it worked out after that first week. I mean, my goodness, was Chris Greer the curse? Was it Jalen Phillips? I don't want to put that on Jalen. But that major win. But just the vibe in the locker room. Watching him gel with the guys and the head coach. And then reading that. He's earning some brownie points. But I'm not going to jump into conclusions. Will Champ Kelly get the full-time gig as GM? I don't know. But if you're reading the tea leaves, it kind of looks like it's the case. Again, drop your comments below. Tell me what you think about the dismissal of Anthony Hunt and Adam Engroff as the co-directors of player personnel. Big deal, no big deal. What did you think about Champ Kelly's statement? And how do you feel about him possibly being the full-time GM? Again, we don't have a lot to work with on that, but it looks like it could be a possibility. It shouldn't be ignored. And who's your favorite for a general manager? If it's not Champ Kelly, who would you like to see the Miami Dolphins interview? I think that might be a better question. Anyway, Dolphin fans, this is Bobby Finstock. It's Monday night. This is Sports Nation on FTSN. Dolphin fans, we had a major victory. We could get another one here against the Commanders in Spain. So do me a favor. Like the show. Hit that subscription button. And most importantly, as always, fins up.